G'day, Adam. It's lovely to see you there. I have been talking to lots of different people about their COVID experience and the idea of resilience. I was wondering if you'd like to give us a bit of an idea of what your experience of COVID has been like.
Yeah, thanks, Joanne, and lovely to chat to you today. So, it's been, I guess, as for everyone, it's just been just such a new thing, and a bit of a roller coaster ride. I really have looked at it as a positive thing, though, even though it isn't in terms of the actual virus and things like that. And I don't by any means say that, I know there are people affected by it, and it is really sad thing. But for me personally, with my personal lens on, it has been a chance for me to slow down a little bit. I've just been so, I guess, fast paced and hectic the last few years as getting my business up and running, and being very grateful and lucky to have so much work straight away. But has taken a bit of its toll on me, and I suppose even my family in that sense too. It actually probably has almost started since the fires, really. Like the fire, these really terrible fires happened in January, and that's sort of slowed a little bit of my work down a bit as well. Although I did consciously take a break in January as well because I needed it. And so that's kind of been the year. March really picked up, and it was so hectic and busy, and then COVID came in and stopped all of that. So so it's just been, as I mentioned, a bit of a roller coaster. It's kind of up and down, up and down. But now I'm at this point where I'm just really, I've just come to terms with it, and I'm just really accepting of the way that we have to adapt at the moment and work like we are, at the moment. So that's, I guess, in a nutshell, how it's kind of been for me. So. Mm.
Yeah, it has been, I think I used the term roller coaster to a friend the other day as well. I'm interested that as a Wiradjuri man with a strong Koori connection, have you drawn on that Koori knowledge and insight in, thinking about resilience and this current, you're absolutely right, the first half of the year has been really one of significant stress for our communities.
Yeah, so I actually, I personally feel, and this is like coming from, I guess, us as Aboriginal people, Wiradjuri people, that kind of spiritual aspect, it's felt like our land has been screaming out to us. We want healing, our land wants healing, and our people are so connected to that. And I actually really felt it with the fires and stuff. I actually felt it within me, and I'm sure non-Indigenous people, Aboriginal, Wiradjuri people did too. Like, it doesn't really matter. Everyone sort of feels that as human beings. But I guess from my perspective, like culturally, it's been like this. It's been building and building and building, and it's almost like it's given me a chance to really get back to that side of things, like really reconnect with the cultural elements. I mean, I'm always doing that's part of my business is teaching culture, but it's really given me a chance to slow down and to do the things that I really love with my culture. So, getting back on country, just connecting a little bit with that, taking the time to listen and feel what's happening around me, and listen to, how the earth, how our mother, Nunjanati, is, how she's sort of changing and things at the moment. And also, I'm really passionate about our plants, as again, that's part of my business, and I'm really passionate about our foods and our medicines, and it's been able to slow down and do more of that, reconnect to that, make some more, of our traditional medicines. And so it's a bit of a long-winded answer, but I guess as a Wiradjuri man, that's been really positive for me, is to just be able to roll back and have the time to focus on that. We we have a word and we call it Yindyamara, and it's like take time, respect the country, listen, slow down, and it's what's happening at the moment for us. It's like a big Yindyamara time. So that's been a really good side of things, I guess, for me. And yeah, when you talk about resilience, my family, my father's family, the Radri side, we've had that our whole life. We've had to be resilient in the way that we we live, I guess, in the way that my nan and pop were probably the most resilient people. I only knew nan for a little bit, and pop passed before I came, unfortunately, but hearing the stories from my uncles and aunties about them, and how their lives were so hard, but they just moved to make sure that the kids lived a good life, and they did so much for them, and they just pushed through that all those rough times, and I think it's really come through me now, and with running a business, you just I guess I just sort of sucked it up, and I was like, all right, well, rather than be sad about this, let's sit down and relook at how the strengths in my business and how I can do things and continue to do things through this period. And it's been really good. I've been very, very lucky to be able to continue to work and continue to feed my family and continue to do all that. So I guess that's a little bit of the resilience. I suppose we've always had it as Rotary people, and so it's probably helped me in that regard.
And what do you think are the what is it that you draw on? Like, I know you've talked about that strong spiritual, cultural knowledge. Are there other sort of skills that you're taught and capacities that sort of are embedded in the way you go forward? And as a young leader yourself, particularly going out into schools, what are the sorts of things that you are talking to children about in terms of building that capacity for it to adapt and change?
That's a really, really good question. Well, I suppose one thing that I can kind of look at, recently that I sort of did. So I was doing a session, an ongoing program with our kids in grammar school. So they're Aboriginal kids from all over, some Yuan, some Wiradjuri kids, Kamilaroi kids, and so working with them delivering cultural programs and bringing that element into their school, because that school is, it hasn't quite sort of got there. It's been a long sort of journey for them to implement all this sort of stuff. So that was really good, and I was seeing a lot of really positive things, particularly for our kids, to engage in culture and things. And then COVID kind of happened, and we sort of had to rethink how we delivered stuff. So we started delivering it like this over Zoom, and I suppose I really relayed to those students, because a lot of them are year 12, and a lot of them I could tell were sort of stressed at this time, and it was just such a big upheaval for them, because they're in the middle of year 12, and they were so used to a lot of them had just moved up from the South Coast a couple of years ago, and just getting used to Canberra life in general, and a different school and things, and then this happened. So I guess I kind of tried to help talk them through that, and just say, just to keep going and be positive, and how our people have pushed through so much of adversity, and use that to kind of help them through, I guess, this time. And hopefully I did, and hopefully I think what they got out of it was just a bit of that strength to keep pushing through, and to stay with their studies and stuff. So that's one example that just came off the top of my head of how we kind of how I kind of talk to our young people about the things that we're going through at the moment, and to kind of try and take the positive out of it. So
So it's that sort of mentoring connection role is critically important, and something that's been deeply embedded in your culture. Yep. Really, the way you learn from elders and respect elders.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about, really. Is we, you know, I'm so grateful for what I've learned from elders, and now it's my turn in a sense. Like I'm still learning. Boy, I'm not, you know, there yet, but it's always now the younger generations coming through, and it's a responsibility on a lot of us to start to empower them as well, because they're our future leaders and things. So.
Mm. So another of the ideas that I've been asking people about is that often, people talk about bouncing back, but there's another idea, which is you can never bounce back to where you were because you've actually got a legacy of the experience you've had. So what do we want to do in order to bounce forward? So are there things from this experience I would include the bushfires in it as well, because I think we've had a pretty much a doozy of a start of a year.
Yeah.
Are there things from this experience that you want to take forward to enable you and your family to, as they say, bounce forward?
Yeah. So again, yeah, really good question, and it's one that I suppose I have thought about a little bit. I think one thing that I really want to focus on more in my what I do, like I, you know, obviously I'm passionate about the education and things, but I also want to the education sort of projects and things I do, and I will always do that. It's just what I'm sort of here to do in a sense, but I really have found that I think we need to start doing more for our, you know, for our Earth, for our planet as well, and that's kind of how I want to move forward as well in my business and in my role is really looking at meaningful projects, you know, and maybe I don't always have to take on things just to because I think you know I need the money or whatever to you know what I mean. I can have the flexibility to really only take on things that are very purposeful, and that yeah. So I think that's what I've had I guess having the time. I've had a bit of a think about it, and that's hopefully what I want to kind of do moving forward. We've sort of already we during the whole sort of lockdown, I guess, not that we had a really crazy one like overseas, but we were doing a bit more of these sort of restoration projects on country. We did developing Aboriginal food gardens in nature reserves. So like this was something that was already funded through a grant last year, but we sort of pushed forward with it. It was meant to be with people, you know, but it ended up being about 3 of us planting 1,000 or so plants, you know, out in the landscape. But doing that kind of work, it was just so rewarding, and it was kind of like we want to do more of this sort of stuff. You know, we want to really bring back our health through healing country and stuff. So I think that's been a big perspective of mine because it's stuff that I've done a lot of in the past, but have maybe lost a little bit along the journey of my business, and so that's what I want to kind of start to bring back a bit more this year. So and focus on. So I hope that sort of answers the question a little bit.
It totally does. And, what I've noticed in a lot of the themes that are coming through, it's enabled people to just step back and go, okay, what am I here for?
Yeah.
Why am I doing what I'm doing? And Kate McMaster, one of the other people I've talked to, was saying it's about reconnecting with your values and that sense of purpose. So I can totally relate to that. And I think it is also being in a position where you're right, do I have to do that because of the remunerative reward or the restoration aspect? And I know for myself, I've made a similar decision in some of the things that I do.
Yeah, that's right. And it's amazing how much that's another thing. Like I have kind of purposefully rolled back on you know, the kind of how much we spend or whatever else, more so because you just don't know, you know, what's going month to month. So you sort of want to have those reserves and things there available. But it's really sort of made me think, well, you know, I don't need to be out there trying to seek so much, you know, work and be, you know, with the monetary sort of value. It's kind of more like we can live a lot more simpler life and still live, you know, abundant and things and do more things that are make us feel so much more happier and things. So yeah, that's been a good kind of perspective, I guess, out of this, and sort of learning, I guess, out of this. So yeah.
Well, thanks, Adam. It's been lovely talking to you. I feel very calm after having spoken.
That's it.
It's really, really good.
Yeah,
So
no,
I will definitely stay in touch and see how you're getting on. And of course, any future restoration projects we can do together, always around.
definitely. No, I have spoken to Laurie a bit too. So yeah, that's always things that I'm interested and keen on, and so yeah, it'd be great to partner up down the track.
All right, thank you.
No worries, man. Thank you so much. Have a good
See
day.
ya.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.